come back and play this at a later time by going to our website.
And by the way,
Okay.
thanks for doing that for the last meeting. I've been able to catch up on all of them. Appreciate it.
Great, great. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, so the topic for today was just to cover what's new in online mooring in 2011. And before I go into this, I just want to point out that we do have some information online that you can use to find out what's new in online mooring at any point in time. On any page in our product, if you scroll down to the bottom and you see our version number, if you click on the version number, it'll bring you to a page that shows you a change log for the product, shows you all the versions and when they came out, and shows you everything that went into each version. So if you ever are curious and you notice that something's different and want to learn more about it, you can always come here if I haven't explained it in sufficient detail. But I'll just close this. I'll also point out that this listing over here includes not only the things that we have implemented, but also the things that you've requested that we haven't implemented yet. And the ones that are on the wish list are at the way bottom. And what you'll see is that you'll see things that have a status of requested. And at our next session 2 weeks from now, I plan to go through the list of outstanding items that haven't been implemented. And the way that we decide whether to include enhancements in the product is based on what kind of general needs I'm hearing from all of you. Generally speaking, if one person has a request and it only benefits that one person, we may not get to it right away. So at any rate, just wanted to show you that little feature was there.
Well, we appreciate the arrows, the front, forward, and back arrows, Brad.
Okay, well I'll get to that. I aim to please.
Big help, thank you.
Okay, so in terms of what we did this year, I'd say there were I'd say 80% of our effort this year went into two things. Thing number one was to improve the speed of the product, and I won't specifically show you that today, but hopefully it's something that you'll just notice as we're going through things today. There were some pages where I sped things up by like 98%, and others weren't quite so dramatic. But I think for the most part, you should see acceptable response time. And if you're not, let me know. And maybe there's some specific things I can look into to try to improve things further. The second thing that we did this year that was a lot of effort on our end was setting up the product to support transient mooring rentals. And I believe that none of you who are on the call today have any transient moorings in your harbor. Is that true?
No.
Is there anybody that does?
Middletown does.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So since that's a bigger piece, I'm going to save that to the end. And anyone who wants to stay on the call and look at that, I'll do that then. But if we get through all the other items and we get to that point and you decide that there really is no need for you to look at the transient mooring piece, then by all means you can skip that and you can get off the call at that point. All right. So what I'm going to do now is just go through the changes to the product this year. And as I went through the list, there were about 50 items that we've changed, and some of them are small, some of them are big, and I'll just try to group them into logical categories. Just in terms of general changes to the site, the thing that you'll notice from this past week was we changed the look and feel of the product. The big thing we were trying to do was to free up some more space for the content on each page, because it was getting squished in a little bit between the ads on the right and the menu on the left. Has anyone been having any problems with the menu? I know that some people were having problems with certain browser versions, that the drop-down menus weren't appearing, and I don't know if any of you had a chance. If you come in here and you see any of these drop-down menus aren't appearing, let me know, and we'll take a look and make sure that we're supporting all the browser that you're using. We have tested on Internet Explorer 9.8.7, on Firefox, on Chrome, on Safari, and it appears to be working on everything we've tried so far. But by all means, let me know if anything else crops up. Was Also in terms of general changes to the site, performance we talked about. And then I guess that's it for general things. All right, so what I wanted to go through next was the changes to the application process as the applicants will see it. And I think the most important thing that we've changed this year is to set it up so that applicants no longer need to log in order to submit or renew their applications. And the reason we did that, or made that change, is that we were getting a lot of questions, and you were getting a lot of questions from the public about, what's my ID, what's my password, and it just seemed like that since most of the people were getting in one time a year, that requiring them to have a login and to remember it was just overly cumbersome, especially since all these people who are just members of the general public have minimal rights, and there's no need for you to have to assign them any additional rights beyond the basics. So what I wanted to do was just quickly go through how things would work with this new process, and we'll go from there. So I'm on the main page for our demo site, and what you'll see here that you wouldn't have seen last year is if I'm not logged in, it used to be that on this page it had a login prompt right on the main page. And since now we've set it up so that hopefully 99% of the people using this site don't have to log in, we've taken the login prompt off of this page and put it onto a separate login page. You probably noticed that already. So for members of the public, they come in, and it used to be that when they weren't logged in, this My Application section didn't show up, and there was no way for them to enter the access codes that they have to enter in order to use the product, or in order to renew an application. So now instead of logging in, all they need to do is to enter one of those access codes. And I believe all of you have gone through this process before of sending out the access codes. Does anyone like me to go through that in a little bit of detail?
Hey, Brad, this is Cliff McGuire. I wasn't aware of that, so if you could do it for me, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, okay, I'll just take a minute or two. So I'm going to log in. So I'm going to log in as me, who is an administrator for this site. And one thing I'll point out is that every, let's see, I'm going to search for a few applications. Peter, you'll be happy to know that in my demo site, your name is featured prominently. But each application in our product is set up so that if you're an administrator, you can get into these applications and you can update them. But if you're a member of the public, we want to restrict the public's access so that they can only update their own applications or their own permits. And the way we do that is by having them enter in an access code that you would provide them that lets them know, or lets Online Mooring know that they are the right person that should be able to update that that application or that permit. The way that you find it is by going to the applicant page, and down at the bottom of the applicant page, there's this access code. So it's a unique code. It's kind of difficult to guess. There's a 1 in 2 billion chance of guessing a valid access code. And the way that this works is instead of you verbally telling everyone what their access code is, when you go to send a notice to all of your voters saying it's time to renew your application, you come in and you can either go into a single application or you can do this for everyone who needs to renew. You come into our communication page and you select some message that you want to send out. Maybe you want to send out a permit renewal notice. And stop me if I'm going too fast. And this shows your standard renewal notice, and you can customize this to show your logo and your text. But the key thing is that somewhere in the body of your message that you send out, you want to tell them what their access code is. And rather than actually typing the access code for each person, we have mail merge fields in our database. And a mail merge field looks like this. It has a pound surrounded by a pound sign, and inside the pound sign is a field name in our database. And the mail merge field for the access code is GUID. If you don't remember that, there is a tool that helps you to insert a field from the database. And you'll see that here there is right at the top is the access code. And if you click that option, then it'll insert the mail merge field into your letter that you send out. And when you send it out, that text will be replaced by the actual access code that goes out. So that makes sense, Cliff?
Yep, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let me just go back. So what was the access code for this particular application? I didn't copy it down, so I'm just going to copy and paste. So let's say I got an email that told me that this was my access code. All right, now I'm going to log out. So now I'm going to pretend that I'm a voter. So I come to my online mooring page, and I enter in my access code. Oops. Yeah, it didn't look right. Well, looks like I'm going to have to do that again.
You need stronger paste.
Yeah, exactly.
Sharper scissors.
All right, I'm going to that. And Shelter Island is an example of a town that doesn't open up online mooring to the public, so this whole access code thing doesn't really apply to them. But all of our other clients have public getting in here, so this comes into play. 40113A13. All right, I'll try cutting and pasting that again, but if it fails, at least I'll remember what it is. All right. Okay, so you enter the access code, hit the access button, and all of a sudden the page comes back, and you can see that now this person, this application that we had looked at is now associated with the person that's using the product. And they can now come in and take a look at it and do whatever they can do on it. And maybe they can apply or not, depending on what status you've set for the application. So any questions about that? Oh, actually, Alan up in Falmouth, Maine, asked a good question yesterday. He said, well, what about the people who have, 60 different permits, or maybe a yacht club or something like that? Do they have to enter in 60 access codes? And my answer to the question is that they don't have to. If they've created an account in the past, they can log in to that account if they want to. And if they log into that, all the access codes they've entered in the past will be remembered and they'll all show up. So the login is still available, but it's optional. And I think that 98% of your people that are out there only have 1 or 2 permits, and entering in those access codes once a year is easier than remembering their logins. So any questions about that?
No, that's a great feature though, Brad.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll just move on. 2 weeks ago, okay, so you know that people can come in. If you've allowed people to submit waitlist applications, they can always come in here at any time and hit the apply button to get onto the waitlist. And you may have noticed that I'm going to log in now as me. So I'll have administrator rights and can see the dashboard. So you'll notice that, and hopefully I have some applications in the status. When you took a look at your dashboard, you would often see a bunch of applications in the status of waitlist application incomplete, which would mean that the applicant had started going through the process of submitting their waitlist application but never finished the process. And that those applications have always stayed in that status forever, which have meant that you needed to go in and to take some action, either to cancel the application or something at some point in time. I've set it up now where after a month, if they don't complete that application, that it goes into a status of canceled automatically. So you don't need to go in unless you want to. And if you don't like that time frame and you want to change it to be shorter or longer, we can configure your site to make it that way. Just let me know. And but at the moment, it'll auto cancel after a month. All right. It used to be that once a applicant completed their application and submitted it to you, that they were sort of locked out from making any changes. And we did that by design, and the reason we had originally done that was that once they finish their application, we calculate the fees that they owe, and then we have them go pay the fees. And if we then let them go back, while you were still reviewing things before you'd approved it and before you rejected it, if we allow them to come back in and change their application, that might cause the fees to change, which we wouldn't have handled properly. But this year we have changed that. So now, while the application is under review, the applicant can go in and make some updates. And if they make a change that causes their fees to change, for example, some towns have their fees based on the length of the vessel. So if they change the length of their vessel or change to whether they were a resident or a non-resident, that's a typical thing that goes into calculating the fee. Then when they get to the end of the application process, it'll say, because of the changes you made, you now owe an additional $15. You want to pay that online. Or in some cases, it might say, well, your fee has gone down. And if the fee has gone down, then we don't refund that fee, but we allow them to come to you to get that money back if you want. What is different on the home page is that when the status is under review, the apply button or the renew button doesn't appear, but they do see a review button that lets them know they can go back through and take a look at their application, and as they go through and look at it, they can make changes. Any questions about that? All right, wait lists. We have made some enhancements to wait lists this year. And what we've done is a few things. First of all, we now have some clients where the wait lists not only are specific to a particular harbor, but also are specific to a particular vessel size. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, okay, it's bringing it up. So Mount Desert, Maine is an example of this. They have different series of moorings, and they want people to be on the wait list for, if they want a 15-foot vessel, they're going to be on the wait list for everyone that has vessels between 10 and 19 feet long. So now in our wait list configuration, we have a way to, here's a list of all of Mount Desert, Maine's wait lists. And what you'll see when we set it up is that not only is this wait list specific to a particular type of application, and also specific to a specific location or harbor within their waters, but also it's only going to apply to vessels between a length of 0 and less than 20. And the way this works is that when someone fills out their waitlist application in Mount Desert, they're required to enter a vessel size. And then when it gets to the waitlist selection page, it only shows the waitlists that are applicable for their vessel size. So people can't even get on the waitlist for the 25-foot vessel if they have selected that they want a 15, or that they have a 15-foot vessel. Let's see. And maybe I'll just give a quick demonstration of that. So I'll apply for a waitlist application. I'll fill out just the required fields. Not bad, Brad. And I'll say I've got a 25-foot vessel. So now on the waitlist page, it shows all the waitlists that are applicable to the vessel size that I have. So that was one of the changes that we made this year on waitlists. Does anyone have any desire to do anything like that in their harbor? All right. Moving on. The next thing I wanted to show was that on the waitlist page now, now that we have, I'm going to go back to my demo site. On the waitlist, and I'll just come here to Cockles Harbor. You can see this Brad Hurley guy. He keeps applying to get on the wait list. We need to do something to stop him. But some of our clients, when they're ready to take someone off the wait list, they are, maybe it means that a new mooring will be physically installed or a new berth, or in other cases, the people are going to be taken off the wait list and assigned to an existing berth, a mooring slip that's in their harbor. You may have noticed this little, button that now appears on the right side of every entry on the wait list. This can be used if you're in the situation where you want to assign someone off of the wait list and to an existing berth that you have in your harbor. And what this will do is it'll do a search for any berths that are available in the time frame that the person wants that can accommodate the person's vessel size and any other things that they requested. And when I do that, it's coming up with a list of all of the berths that meet the conditions that I asked for. So it shows the size vessels that the berth can accommodate, what its status is, and in this case, it's saying that you can assign a permit to this berth now. Rental status means it's not available for rental. What harbor it's in, and so on and so forth. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, this is Kim.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Hi, I was just wondering if it would be possible to assign somebody to another canceled mooring, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you cancel them, then it frees up the mooring. The status will change, saying it's available, and you can assign it to somebody else. The only thing you can't do is assign two people to be at the same place at the same time.
Okay. So if one's given up and then somebody buys their tackle, I can transfer that information the same?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's see. What else do they have here on waitlist? Yeah, I think that's it on the waitlist. All right, and then on the final page of the application process, where we show the voters, let's see, a summary of what they entered in. Let me get to one of those pages so that we can just be talking about the same thing. I'll go in and I'll review this permit. I'll go all the way to the end. Oh, yeah, let me go back a second. One more thing on waitlists. I don't think that everyone has seen this. So now we allow people. I'm getting a little bit of background noise, so I'm thinking I might need to mute. Would you like me to? Okay. I don't know if this is a new feature in the past year where now you can allow people to specify a priority for each of these harbors. So in this case, I'm saying my first choice would be in Cockles Harbor, my second choice would be in Deering, and third would be in West Neck. And you can make this visible or not, depending on your needs. Charlestown, Rhode Island was one community that wanted this. And another thing that we have on this page now is the ability to show you the date that each person was put on each of these wait lists and allow you to change it. And if you want to be able to do that, then I can show you how to show that field so you can modify it. All right, but going to the last page of the application process. All right, so we get to this page. Some enhancements have happened to this. Jamestown had a requirement this past year that they didn't want people to submit an application or a renewal for a real permit if they didn't have a current inspection. So now we have a configuration ability to highlight on this final page whether an inspection is needed, and if it's needed, then I'm trying to remember, how did we set it up for you, Kim? Did we set it up where they couldn't finish the application until they got the inspection, or did they? Or was it just a warning for them? I think it was just a warning.
I believe it would. No, it kicked them back. It wouldn't let them go to application under review. It would say application incomplete.
Yeah, so let me show you how we set that up. I'm going to open another tab. So I'm going to, in our application type configuration, let's say you wanted to set it up so that mooring permits behave a certain way, and you wanted to set up where on an application you needed to have an inspection. There's this inspection needed checkbox. If you check that, then the inspection is needed during the application. And if you also wanted that to apply on a renewal, then you'd also do it here as well. All right, so that was one change here. So if anybody wants that sort of logic in place for their harbor, let me know later. Also on this page, we used to just show the total amount due, and now we are showing some detail to show how we came up with that number. Because in some cases, it's not just the current charge, it's also the outstanding balances on other things that they may have done in the past. And we also break it out and show what the extra fees might be for paying by credit card. And then the other thing that we did was that, let's say someone had overpaid in prior years. I know it's a pretty unlikely situation, but we have run across it. It used to be that when you came to this page, that overpayment wasn't applied to the current charge, and now it is. So when you get to this page, before we actually display the page, we look to see whether there are any extra fees that have been paid in the past, and we apply it, and it will only show the remaining balance here on this page. And then last thing we did on the payment was, let's say someone goes to pay using Google Checkout. You know how sometimes there's a little bit of a delay before Google Checkout, notifies online mooring and online mooring displays on the home page that it's been paid. Usually that's a couple minutes, but in some rare cases, it's taken longer than that. What the applicants sometimes do is they say, oh, maybe my payment didn't go through, so I'm going to try paying again. And if they do that, then they're probably going to be charged twice, and then we have to get involved to refund the second payment. So this year we made a change so that when you click the payment, or click the option to continue, and assuming you've checked the option to pay online, we do a check to see if Google Checkout is in the middle of processing anything for that person. And if so, it lets them know that there's something in progress and prevents them from paying twice. So just a little bit of an enhancement to make things easier for all of us. Okay, so those are the changes in the application process. Then let me go through the review process for you. Let's see, let me go to my dashboard. At the request of Peter and Sharon in Shelter Island last week, or 2 weeks ago, I've added an ability to scroll through the applications more easily. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to look at all of the applications for the Reach family. If I went into an application, it used to be that if I wanted to go now to the second application in that list, I'd have to go back to my search results and click on the second one. Now I've added a previous and next button to just take me to the next one. And Peter has asked if I can move that up to the top, and plan to do that shortly. but you can see we can now easily scroll through all of the applications.
That's a really nice feature, Brad.
Well, it's one of those things where as soon as you mention it, it's like, oh yeah, of course. Well, why didn't I think of that before? So I definitely rely on the wisdom of all of you to let me know about things that if you have any thoughts, don't self-censor. Right? Certainly raise the issues with me, and I'll try to do what I can. That's easy to do, and if it's harder, it may take longer to get it in place. But I'll certainly try to do what can be done easily in short order.
From my experience.
What was that?
It's amazing how quickly you get things done. It really is.
Well, thanks. Sometimes that happens, and I aspire to that, and I realize that it doesn't always happen. So don't get used to it.
Yeah. Well, the buttons were there, like the back and forth buttons were there, like within a day or two. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that was an easy one. All right. So the other thing is that sometimes people on that home page end up submitting a waitlist application instead of renewing their existing application, and sometimes they'll get through the whole process, pay, and then you realize they've paid the wrong thing. And we have in the past, you've had to come to me, and I've had to do some work on the database in the back end to move the payment around. Now you can do it yourself. So let me show you how you can move a payment around. Let's see, do I have a payment on this particular? Yeah. Let's say I wanted to move this $15 payment from this application to another one for the Reach family. What I would do, I would come into the payment, click on it, and there's a new button here at the bottom. It says Cut. So I'm going to hit the Cut button, and that just puts it into the Online Moorings clipboard. And now you need to go to another application. I'll go to the next one. And let's see. Now I'm on the next one, and what you'll see now is that there's this nice little Elmer's glue icon on the payment section because I cut a payment, and I'm going to paste it here. And what it's going to do is it's going to now put that $15 payment here in this section. The paste button went away, and it also tried to figure out what I wanted to pay or what I wanted to apply that payment to. And if you don't like how it applied the $15, you can go in and change it. You can say, no, that $15 wasn't for the renewal. It was for that up there. Okay, so that's the cut and paste. So you can move the payments around now. The other thing I wanted to point out was that I believe all of you know this. I'm going to go to Falmouth because I know of a situation that is going to show what I want to show. I think all of you know this, but sometimes when you go to these applications, the information in the applicant section can be shared between multiple applications. In other words, you could have, in this case, Ward Graffam could have 2 permits and have his information about his personal information stored in the database once. There are pros and cons of that. The pros of that is that if Ward ever changes, where he lives or changes his phone number, you can come in here once, change it once, and it'll, the update will be reflected on 2 different permits or 2 different applications. There's a new button that's showing up now in the various sections of the application that will let you know if the information here is shared with other applications. In this case, it's telling you that there's one other application that is where this information is shared. And if you click on it, it'll bring you to the search results page, and it'll show you all the applications that share that information. and you can take a look at the individual applications. So the good thing is that by sharing information when a change is made, it changes everywhere it should. The downside is that maybe you'll go in to change information about an application, and it changes it in places where you didn't expect it to change. Maybe, for example, you might have two different applications linked to the same vessel. And maybe you wanted to go in and just change what vessel this application was associated with, and you might end up changing other applications that are linked to the same vessel. So this linked button lets you know when you're going to have when your changes are going to affect more than one application. So questions about that? So let's say that you wanted to make a change to this application, and let's say, for example, you wanted to add a co-applicant on this application, but you didn't want to add the co-applicant on the other application. What you would do is you would actually have to create a new applicant record and enter in the information that you want on the new record, and that would break the linkage between this application and the other application. Questions about that?
So Brad, if you do linked application, it's only going to change the applicant information. It's not going to change the vessel information, right?
Right. So the information in this applicant section can be shared, and it's separate from the vessel information.
So what if they change, like in Ward's case, he changes vessels, and I have to update the vessel, but I don't want it to update to the second mooring. Do I have to do the new button?
Well, in this case, the vessel isn't linked. There's no linked button here in the vessel section, which means that this vessel information is specific to this one application only and not to any other.
Oh, I see. Okay.
However, the application section is linked, which means any changes in this section are going to impact all of the applications that would appear if you clicked on that button.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep, sure does. Thank you.
I was looking both. All right. What else? And then another thing is that some towns actually have different types of applications. Like I'll use Manchester, Mass. as an example. They have 3 different kinds of applications that people can submit. Mooring permits or dinghy permits, or they call it user permits, but they're really slip permits. And in the past, people, once they submitted an application, there was no way to change what type of application it was. And now we've set it up so that when you go into an application, you can now change what kind of application it is. So if I went in here to the mooring permit, I click to edit the application section of the page. Now the application type is a editable field, and you can change it to something else if the applicant picks the wrong button by mistake. Okay. Moving right along, we have some new statuses in the product. And first of all, I wanted to point out that now in our product, whenever you see a status, you can move your mouse over it, and a tooltip will come up to give you a little bit more information about what that status means. So it should reduce some of the questions that you get from the public when they see a status on their home page, and also helpful for you as you're here looking at the statuses on your dashboard. But there were a couple of new statuses that we added this year, and I just wanted to talk through them. Just because they're new doesn't mean you have to use them, but if you want to, you certainly can. One of the new statuses, and actually I'll go to Darien, Connecticut. One of the new statuses is waitlist hold. So here's the situation. In Darien, they had someone who was on the wait list, and the harbor master went to assign or to take the person off the wait list and assign them to mooring in the harbor. They contacted the applicant, and the applicant said, "Oh, well, that's great, but I don't have a boat yet, and oh, times are a little bit tough right now, and would it be okay if I took the spot next year instead of this year?" And in this case, the harbor master said yes. So what the harbor master wanted was a special status that they could basically put the applicant into, saying that they would remain on the wait list, but they wouldn't be, but there would be something that would indicate to the harbor master that they shouldn't be considered for any new moorings that become available in the harbor until further notice. And just like anything, there's an action that triggers this status. I think the action is waitlist hold, and you can put an expiration date on when the hold will expire. So it's just one new option. Anyone else think they would want to use something like that? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. The other thing is that there's a new status called approval hold. In this case, there was the same town. Someone approached the harbor master and said, "Hey, I would like to save money. I'd like to sort of waive my permit for this year, but I only want to do that if I can get my mooring or my permit back next year without having to go back on the wait list." And the harbor master said, "Yeah, okay, that's okay. What I'll do is I'll put you into the system. I'll add an action to the application that says approval hold, and I'll put you on hold for a year." And what that basically did was to free up the mooring for someone else to use, but it also left the applicant in a status where the harbor master will know that they can renew next year. So once again, an optional thing. One other new status is temporary assignment. And we ran into this here in Darien and also in Bristol, Rhode Island, where there was someone on the wait list, close to being assigned, or close to being taken off of the wait list, but not quite there yet. And one of the permit holders contacted the harbor master and said, "Hey, I don't have a, or I'm going to be away from my my mooring for a while, maybe for the next month. I'm going on an extended leave." And in that case, the harbor master said, "Well, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. I'm going to assign someone from the wait list into that spot while you're away." So to do that, there were two things that needed to happen, and I'll show you how that would work. The first thing that had to happen is that the harbor master needed to go into the person who had the permit and say that they wanted to record that the applicant will be away for a period of time. So let me go in, and I'll pick my favorite person again. Oops, I'm in Darien. My favorite person's not there.
I'm not up there, Brad.
Sometimes I forget which town I'm in. All right, so let's say that, what do we got here? So we've got an application where this person is approved until the end of this year. It expires on December 31st. What I could do, if this person called me up and let me know they were going to be away, I would, I configured this site so that that action isn't available. Hold on a second. I'm going to, this is not something you would normally have to do. I'm going to allow the temporary absence action to be available. And now, when I go back to this page, you see, so there's an action of temporary absence. So the first thing I would do on the person who has the permit is I'd record when they're going to be away, from 12/1 to 12/31. And I would hit the Save button. And what will happen is the status of this application will change during that time period from approved to temporary absence. And then what I can do is I can go into one of my wait lists, and let me pick someone off the wait list. I'll go to this guy. And what I can do to this is to specify that this application is going to have a temporary assignment, and we're going to put in the dates of the assignment, and that will allow them to be there. And you also can specify which birth they're going to be allowed to be at. So you can do a search. You pick the birth that you're looking for. Okay. Well, at any rate, so you pick when you're which birth you're going to be at, and you do the temporary assignment, and they will be allowed to be there during that period. You see this Brad guy has 10 linked, 10 applications, 11 actually applications, all with shared information. All right. Any questions about that? Those new statuses. Okay. I'll go to charting now. We've made some enhancements in charting this year. First thing I wanted to do was just go to Google Earth and show you a few things. Let's try this again. All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that this is something I did just yesterday. Was to make it easier to find things on the map, and I'll show you what I did.
Hey, Brad, where those other moorings come from that are on land?
This is old data. Old data.
It's old data. Okay.
You might remember. You might remember that when we first loaded your data, you had moorings all over the place.
Yeah.
Most of them were legit, but some were on land like this.
Yeah.
But it used to be that if you. Yeah. So it used to. Yeah. So it used to be that when you wanted to find out what mooring something was, you had to click on it and see what came up in the window. But now, as of yesterday, we've set it up so that as you move your mouse, over things, it just automatically pops up the label for that mooring. And we're labeling using whatever field you wanted to label with. So if you wanted the person's name to pop up, the applicant's name, the vessel name, it's whatever you picked on the charting page. And you can still do what we did in the past, which was we have a labels field which will show you the label on all of them. But if you don't want to view all the labels, then now just moving over the item will show you the label. And that takes a while to load up anyway. The other thing I wanted to point out is that now that we are doing this, it's a little bit easier to find a mooring. So if you click the Find button now, and let's say I did WA32, it'll bring you right to WA32 in the list, and if you double click on it, it'll center the map on that particular mooring. And it used to be that you had to turn on the labels feature in order to be able to do that, and now you don't. It'll now work on any layer. All right. Another thing that we've added is, this is at the request of Bristol, Rhode Island. We've added a couple new layers here in the on the left, and the new layers are called the minimum scope areas and the maximum scope areas. The idea here is that there may be a range of acceptable scopes that you want to allow in a harbor, and maybe you want to be able to see things that have too small a scope or too large of a scope, so that you make sure that the spacing of your moorings is right. Minimum scope areas will show you, for example, how big the swing area would be if the scope was at your minimum that you configured. I think in this case I set it up where the minimum was 2 times the water depth. If you want, you can overlay that with your swing areas. So you can see, for example, that the swing area for this one is bigger than the minimum. That's good. You can also show a maximum area, and you can see, oh yeah, my swing area for that one is between the minimum and the max. That's good. But maybe for some of these other ones, this one looks smaller than the minimum, so maybe that's a problem. How you configure that, going back to the charting page, you can go to the bottom and you can say what you want your minimum and maximum scope to be. And if you want to save that permanently, you just set that, press that button, and it'll remember that for forever. Any questions about that? Okay, moving on. Another thing I wanted to point out was that we've also added a calendar to each mooring, so you can see over time what the status of that mooring is. So if you click on that, oh yeah, of course I've got to log in. For some reason, Google Earth sometimes remembers how I'm logged in outside of Google Earth, and sometimes it doesn't. So let me go back and do that again. I'm going to click on the calendar, and now we have something that shows over time what's happening with that. And what you'll see is that during current month, the mooring is permitted, during the entire month. So you can, and down at the bottom, this is a new feature. It shows which applications are related to this mooring during the month that you're looking at. So you can see that from June 2010 to December 2019, we're occupied, and we can scroll to other months, and since we're only scrolling 1 month at a time, it's still going to show the same application at the bottom. But this is going to be handy, especially for your transient moorings, where if you've got people coming in every hour, or one different person every day, you can see all the activity related to a particular berth, all on one page over time. All right. Next thing I wanted to show, I believe this was at the request of Alan up in Falmouth, but I also used it down in Greenwich for producing a map of their harbor. Normally we let you label the things on your map with one field, or at least we had in the past. Now we let you pick multiple fields. So let's say you wanted your labels to include both the mooring number and the name of the vessel. You can do that by clicking on this multiple box, and once you click the multiple box, this becomes a multiple select list of fields. So I could click on the mooring number, and I could also pick the vessel name. And if I want to pick more than one field that aren't right next to each other, I have to hit the click, or press down the click button while I select. Otherwise, it'll deselect the other thing that I picked. And then if I do that and I hit the update button, now my labels will be both of those fields.
So what did you have to click, Brad, so that you didn't unclick the other one?
Oh, I had to do Control click. So if I hit that and then I just clicked this, it would deselect the other one and select that. But if I hit Shift click, it'll select everything between what I've selected and what I'm selecting. Right. Like that. Or if I hit Control click, then it'll just highlight what I have selected.
Gotcha.
All right, and then the last thing is that we've done some more, create some more options here for color coding what appears on the chart. Normally we just have the mooring balls show up on our chart, but we can set it up where we can color code based on the inspection status, where everything that needs to be inspected would be red, everything that's currently inspected would be green. So if we did that, we hit the update button. I think we're going to get a lot of reds here, I'm guessing. Yeah, we've had some hit or miss activity with Google Maps recently. Seems like Google Earth's been reliable and Google Maps has not.
Maps never works for me.
What was that?
I think it's because we're too many.
Yeah, so now you can see that everything here is color-coded based on inspection status, and looks like there might be a couple of things that have been inspected here. Really, everyone else has got a bad inspection. And so we can do the same sort of thing with the payment status. Things that are green will show up, will mean that they're paid. Things that are not paid in full will show up red. And if you want a legend that tells you what all these colors mean, you can always look below and see what is shown here. We can also color code based on the status of the application, and we can also show based on the status of the rental. All right, so that's it on the charting enhancements. Anything else people would like me to show on that? Okay, next thing I'm going to show is enhancements we've made to the communications page. Once again, I'll go back to my favorite person. And you can get to the communication page by clicking on the person's email address. And what I wanted to point out is that we have some enhancements now in terms of what happens when you go to send an email. All right, so there's my message, and let's say I go to send it by email. It used to be that the message was always sent from the email address that's configured for online mooring for your harbor. It might be your harbor master email address. But we found that in some cases, let's say in town of Greenwich, for example, the harbor master wants to be able to send out messages, but in general, the town wants email inquiries to come into the Harbor Commission. Or actually, it's not the Harbor Commission. It's got a different name. So the harbor master wanted to be able to send messages out under his own email address. So now there's an option to have it go out as from your email box. You can also indicate that you want a person to receive a carbon copy or a blind carbon copy of the message. Now, one caveat, and this is thanks to Alan that we realized this, that when we send out an email, let's say we're sending out an email to everyone in your harbor for one reason or another, and in Alan's case, that's about 1,200 people. We actually generate 1,200 email messages, that are different from each other, because each message we send out could have mail merge fields in it that could be different. So if you CC someone, they're going to get a copy of every single message that goes out. So if you have 100 people in your harbor, they're going to get 100 emails, just so you know. But the option is there. It's probably more useful if you're sending out a message to one person at a time. Also, we've added some new mail merge fields into this list this year that people have found useful. The first one is we have an option to, and this probably is not as valuable today as it was at the time we did it. We have added a mail merge field that allows you to put in the person's login or login ID that they created last year, or the one that was associated with their application, and that is the.
You went by.
Did I? Where was it? Yeah, it's on there somewhere. I'll find out the exact name for you. And then there are also mail merge fields now for estimating what people will pay as part of their fees, part of their renewal fees, if the information that stays in their application is unchanged from last year. So, Bristol, Rhode Island, for example, sends out notices that they're more like bills than reminders to renew, and they want to be able to put out in the message what the fees will be based on the information that they have on file, understanding that the applicants might do something that they might switch vessels, which might change the length, which might impact their fees, or they might have moved so that now they're not a resident, and now they are. And the fields are here somewhere, and I'm going to have to look up what they're called. Oh, here we go. The next renewal fee, or the next waitlist renewal fee. So if you use that'll plug in what it thinks the fees will be if they're unchanged. Any questions about that? Okay. That is it on the communication side. Oh, no, one more thing on the communication. What was that?
Fred?
Yes.
Is there a field for the wait list position?
There is not. That is, I know you have requested that, and I put it on the list, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing it. Thank you.
All right, so let's go back. There's one other thing. So as you know, at the bottom of the application page, there is a listing of all the communications that have gone out using the product. If you use that communication page to send a letter, to send an email, to send a text message, we archive that here, and you can come in and take a look at it at a later time. For example, if I click on this will show me the actual text of the email that went out and when it went out. Now, one thing that we did that's different this year is, sorry, we've got to go back to the bottom of the page there. We set it up so that you can record other things in here, maybe communications that happened outside of the product. For example, maybe someone came into your office and talked to you, or you had a phone call, or you received a fax, or you sent a fax, or something else. You can record all this activity with that's related to this application here. You can go into that communication section, click the new button, and you can say, yeah, I had a phone call, from the applicant, and you can type in what it was about. Discuss the late payment, whatever the case may be, and now that's there in your list. So there are more options now here.
Brad,
Sorry, say that again?
Brad?
Yes.
If you wanted to add more in there, like if you had a more detailed discussion, you wanted to put in more than 3 words, and say you want to type in a whole paragraph, where would you do that, or could you do that?
Can't right now, but that's a real easy thing for me to add in. So I'll put that in a list, and hopefully that'll be in place before our next get-together.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
It's Peter. With communications, there seems like something changed. If we were sending out a renewal notice and mail merge, before we printed it, we could make a change. If we realized somebody's name was spelled wrong, or something, we could look at that, and it could actually change. The amount was wrong, or something like that. We could change it and then go back, and print the letter because we're trying to get the letters out, and then go back in and enter it. Or if you're just printing it and somebody came in with a new address and you hadn't entered that into the system yet, but you wanted to change it there on the fly, you could do that. We used to be able to make changes on letters. Now it doesn't seem like you can change anything. That
Well, yeah, I think it depends how you do it. If you're generating letters, I mean, if you're generating emails, certainly those are going out.
yeah, we were doing actual letters, like just through Word.
Yeah, if you do letters, it will generate this mail merge document. You can either print it out directly from your browser, in which case you don't have the chance to modify anything, or you can take that mail merge document and copy and paste it into Word, and then you can make changes before you send things out.
Okay, okay. Could you change it in the browser in the past? I thought it seemed like you could.
Well, you can change the letter that goes out before you hit the mail merge button, and it'll affect everybody. It affect all the letters that are going out.
But not all the letters, like in one specific letter, if you noticed a mistake.
No, there's never been a way to do that through the product, but certainly you can by cutting and pasting into Word. Was there a question there?
Yeah, this is Sharon. I have an issue where the renewal notice, once it's generated, it must grab the last amount paid, and our application fee is $125, but the renewal fee is $105. So
yeah, I think this new mail merge field we were just talking about will solve that problem for you. So after we get off the line, I'll be glad to work with you on that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The mail merge field you have been using is showing what your most recent fee was, as opposed to what it should be going forward.
We just put in the field. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, good.
Okay, next, enhancements to the search process. So let me go to the search page, the advanced search page. Now that I've moved everything around on you, you'll come to the search menu, and you pick what kind of thing you want to search for. So let's look at the application search. And we've added some new ways to search this year. Since the last time we talked, I've added in the ability to search based on what has changed on the application. So you could say, all right, show me anything that's changed by someone else since the beginning of the year. And if you wanted to restrict, what part of the application you cared about, you could do that. You say, I only want to see changes to the applicant section. I don't know if I'm actually going to get any results if I hit the search button, but let me see what I get here. Because I think I may be the only person who comes into this demo site. My boss does from time to time. All right. But you get the idea. While we're waiting, I'll talk about something else. The other thing that we have, timeout expired. Interesting. Let's try that again. Let's just find everything that's been changed by me since the beginning of the month. All right, looks like I have an issue there that I need to work on. So, but that's how it will work. Any questions about that particular search feature?
Brad, for what it's worth, I'm doing it over here, and it's taking forever as well.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Yeah, it looks like we have a problem with that. Let me just make sure that I can do another kind of search. Yes, I can. Okay, so it's just that one search option that's really slow at the moment. So I'll have to see what I can do to speed that up. All right, so the next thing is now we have a little bit more options for searching for applications based on what's happened on the application over time. For example, here's a list of all the different actions that you can add to an application. So you can now search. In the past, you could search on when a action occurred, and maybe you wanted to search on when something was effective. Like maybe you approved something in January, allowing someone to be at a birth in February, and maybe you wanted to search on, people that were approved, to be at a mooring during a certain time frame. We also have set up so that you can now search for things that have expired or that didn't expire or that actions that have been added or that weren't there during the time frame that you specify. So you have more flexibility on searching for actions on an application than you did before. One last thing that we did was to add some options at the bottom to allow you to control how things are sorted in your search results. Normally when you do a search, things are ordered by the reference number, which probably means nothing to you. But we can sort in a number of different ways. We can sort by the applicant name or the vessel name or whatnot, or where they are on the wait list, or by which one, by having the most recently updated ones at the top. So that's a new option this year. You don't have to pick it if you don't want to. And then the other thing that we've added here is the ability to combine multiple searches. So let's say you wanted to find, let's say you wanted to find everyone who had a status of approved or approval hold. Well, you can only pick one. And so how do you do this? If you wanted to combine two searches and just combine the results, you do one search. Nothing found. All right. Nothing is approved at the moment. Okay. And let me take another one. Let's say approved in advance. All right, so I've got 905 that are approved in advance. Now let's say I also wanted to add to that list a bunch of other things. Let's say I also want to include the people who are on approval hold. If I want, normally what happens when I do a search, it replaces the results from your prior search. Let's say I wanted to add the results of this search to the results of my previous search. I click the add button, and now when I search, it should show me both, and it's not. So I've got a problem here that I've got to fix. The other options here in the search options, you can set it up so that when you do a search, it replaces the previous results, or that it filters the previous results, meaning that only the results that appear in both of your search results are going to appear. Add means it'll take the results of both searches and show you everything that appears in either search result. And remove will take the results of your second search and remove it from the results of your first search, so it'll only show you the results that were in the first that were not in the second. So there's some options there to do some fancy things. And then once you have your results, there's a new option here to be able to control how many results you're seeing at a time. You can say you want to see 20 per page, 50, or you can say just show me everything, in which case it'll come back. And the reason we don't normally show everything is because if you're viewing a large list like this, it can take a long time to display it all.
Great
improvement. Now, what was that?
Great improvement.
Oh, okay, good.
Great
improvement.
Yeah, from Peter, it's great.
Oh, good to get positive feedback, and that was just this week. But now once you can see everything, then you can print it off and see everything. All right, I think that's it on searches. Any questions about that? Okay, just got a couple more things. We've added some new database fields recently. When we add new fields, we normally don't make them visible to all of our existing clients because we've already gone through the process of configuring your site to show the fields that you want to show. but I'll just mention what fields we've added so that you can decide whether you want to add them to your site or not. Somebody's ringing.
My personal phone. Don't pay attention to it.
All right, I might have to mute you guys. All right, but I'm almost done, so I won't mute you. So we've added a field to record the applicant's fax number if you want it. So if you want any of these fields added to your applications, let me know after the fact, and I'll be glad to work with you on that. On the vessel, we have added fields to record the VHF call sign for the vessel, or the EPIRB number, if you want to have that. And then we've also added some fields on the inspection page so that you can record information about any eye bolts on the tackle, as well as the shackle size and the staple size. So those are the new fields. I won't show them to you, but if you want any of those added, let me know. The other thing that this is the last thing that I have on my list other than the transient mooring capability, is we have the ability now to more easily configure the application forms. And what I want to do is go show you how to configure our application forms. So I think that configuring the forms should be pretty rare. It usually is something that I assist with up front. But if over time you find you want to change the way your forms behave, you can always come in here to the application type configuration option, choose what kind of application you are interested in, and then you can go to a preview page for any one of these. So you want to see what your waitlist application looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. If you want to do that, you click on the preview button. So let's preview the waitlist application. And that shows you all the fields that will appear on your page. It'll show you which fields are required. It'll show you which fields are disabled. That's what this minus sign means. But if you wanted to change the way this looks, there's now a configure button at the bottom of every page that an applicant sees. And if you click the configure button, some new fields show up. So it basically now will show you every possible field that's in the application. And you can say whether you want the field to be hidden, visible but disabled so they can't change it. Normal means that they can edit, and required means that they have to provide a value. So you can see what the settings are for every single field on your form, and you can change it if you want. If you want to make this comment field hidden, you just change it to hidden. And then when you're done with the whole page, you just come down to the bottom and hit the Save button. And it is showing you that when you save this, it's only going to update the way the application looks for your mooring permit application, and only in this one situation. That's interesting. I expected it to be the waitlist application. Oh yeah, that's right. I clicked the button for the situation. But if you wanted to, if you said, well, I want this, I want the settings I entered here to apply to both my waitlist applications and my waitlist renewals, you can click on them both and save, and it'll update both. And if you want to just cancel out without saving any of your changes, just hit the cancel button. So hopefully that's an easier way of configuring your pages than we had in the past. Any questions about that?
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I love that.
Good.
Thank
All
you.
right.
That's amazing.
All right. So So the next thing I was going to show was the transient mooring piece. And as I said, I figured that not everybody probably cares about that. And if you want to drop off the call at this point, feel free. Yeah.
Hey, Brad, I have to leave, but before I go, because the transient thing doesn't concern me, I noticed that the print on the applications, or when you're viewing online mooring, is kind of like in a muted gray as opposed to black. Is there any particular reason for that?
No. You think that it would print out better if it were a darker shade?
Well, I'm not getting any younger.
Okay, yeah, we can take care of that.
Black would definitely be easier for me anyway. I mean, if everybody else likes it, I don't care, but It's just a little bit more difficult for me to see.
Okay, yeah, easily taken care of. Thanks for letting me know.
Another vote for black.
It's
Okay.
tripping out on the boat, when you're getting glare off the screen and stuff. I think it would make it very difficult to see.
Okay, yeah, I'll make it so.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, I have to leave. Thank you, Brad.
All right, thanks, Alan. All right, so just moving ahead to the transient piece. So the
Hey,
whole
Brad, understood. Brad, this is Cliff McGuire. I'm going to step off too. I'm not involved with transients either.
Okay, great. All right.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Brad,
Peter got to
This is
sign up.
fun.
We don't have transients, and I have another meeting. But thank you very much again. Thank you. It was very helpful.
All right, take care, Peter. Thanks. Bye, Sharon.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I think I'm only going to have Lisa left.
Here.
Let's see.
Brad, I'm trying to sign off, but I did the question that we had about the longer comments.
Yes.
There is, under the applicant section and the birth section, there are places where you can type longer comments. It's just not under that same communication section, but I just wanted to mention that it's still available, and it's helpful to add those notes in.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, so are you going to stay on, Kim, or are you going to go?
No, I'm gonna log off. Thank you. The updates are
Okay.
great.
Okay, thanks. Take care. Okay, Lisa, it's just you and me.
Okay.
And also anyone who's going to be listening to this recording after the fact. All right, that'll make it a little bit easier. So, so I'll just go through this a little bit. So we've set up online mooring now to allow not only permit applications, but rental applications. And the difference is we're sort of envisioning that this is going to be something a little bit like some of the travel sites like Travelocity or Orbitz, where a person will come to a page looking for a place to moor their boat for today, this weekend, whatever the case may be. And they could either come to, let's say, Middletown site specifically, if they wanted to go there, and look to see if something is available, or they could come to our general online mooring site saying, I don't know exactly where I want to go, but I want to go somewhere in Narragansett Bay. And we would give them a listing of everyone in that area who has transients available. So first, I'll just show what the search looks like. It's a little bit different for initiating an application. The way that someone would initiate an application is to first, say when do they want to be, when do they want to place. I'll enter tomorrow's date, and maybe they wanted to leave the day after. If they wanted to arrive or depart at a particular time, they could certainly specify that. And then they'd also have to give some information about their vessel size, because in the product we set it up so that you can indicate what size vessels are allowed at any particular berth.
Okay.
And also people can say, well, I really want to slip, or I really want a mooring, or it doesn't matter. I'll take anywhere where I can, moor for the evening. And then they may also say, there are certain amenities I want. I mean, the amenities are probably going to matter much more for slips than they would for moorings. But maybe for mooring, they only want one where there's some sort of service where they can get to shore. So maybe that isn't applicable for you. But at any rate, so they enter in when they want a mooring, what size their vessel is, and then they say, all right, show me what's available. And this comes to a search results screen. And the first thing it's showing them, think of it like if you went out to Travelocity and you said, all right, I'm interested in this hotel, and you click on the hotel, and then it says, well, we got different kinds of rooms. It's the same sort of thing here. We have different kinds of berths. Maybe. Yeah. We set it up so that we can support different kinds of berths. And whereas in the hotel situation, you're picking whether you want two queens or one king. Here, you might be picking what type of berth you're you're going into and maybe what amenities are allowed. And also we'd be showing them based on the rules you set up in our database how much it would cost. And also it's going to show them whether there is currently any availability for them or not, or whether there's a wait list to get on that, to get that kind of berth. If there are any available, or if there are, if you want there to be a wait list and there are slots left on the wait list, then they can go through this reservation process. And once they click the reservation process, it goes through an application form, just like people would go through an application form to get a permit. You might configure, different information that you might need. Maybe you don't need as much information for a transient as you do for an annual permit. But let's say I click the reserve button. Now it takes me through the application process for filling that out, and maybe you don't require as much information, as I said.
Yeah,
and then when you get to the end,
if anybody calls, I just give them the harbor master's phone number, and he does it all on his own. So I really don't know what information he requires.
All right, so it's probably a lot less than you require for the permit, and that's okay. We just need to configure your application. And then at the end, once they filled out the information they need to fill out, then we figure out how much they owe, and they pay online, and it goes to the harbor master or whoever you want it to go to for approval or rejection. We've actually got it set up where we can actually send an email to the person who needs to approve with all of the appropriate information in it. And actually in the email there can be a link to approve it or reject it, so that you don't have to get into online mooring to do the approval or the rejection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for example, let's see. I believe. Yeah. So I set up a email template that I had configured to go out when someone submits a rental application, and so it, the email will contain all the information about when and where and who it is. And at the bottom there are links. And if you click on the review link, it takes you to online mooring to look at that application. If you click the approve button, it adds the approval action and changes the status, or you can hit the reject button. So this can all be clicked on from your email package, so you don't have to go into online mooring. But you still can go into online mooring to see everything that's going on, and you can still do things the way that you do them. Let's see. So to make this all work, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. So on the dashboard page, what you would see if you did this, come on, dashboard, is not only would you see your mooring permits, but underneath you might also see a section for mooring rentals. And they would have statuses just like your permit applications do. If you have a multi-step approval process, then it'll show you, who's supposed to be, or where things stand in the approval process. I think you just have a single-step approval process, so you wouldn't see the review steps. And if you did want to allow wait lists for rentals, once again, those wait lists would appear here as well. And what's different is that you would see a wait list for a point in time, as opposed to just a general wait list for everybody. Yeah, so who's on the wait list for this weekend? Who's on the wait list for next weekend?
Got it. Okay.
And the only thing that is new on the configuration side is this thing called rental groups. And the idea is to define the different kinds of berths that you can rent out, similar to the different types of rooms in a hotel. And you come in here and you can define your different groups. And for each one of these groups, you can define a whole bunch of different things. First of all, you can define information about the berths. Is there a minimum or maximum length vessel that you can allow in this group? Is there a minimum or maximum beam? Is there a minimum or maximum draft that you want to allow? You can also indicate what amenities are available for the berth in that group. If you had, electricity, for example, at a slip, then you can then enter in, it's 20 amps, 120 volts, whatever the case may be. All right. So then, apart from the physical characteristics of the berths in this group, there are rules about how they can be rented out. If there's a defined check-in time or check-out time, I'm using the hotel model again, then you can enter that time here. And if someone says they want to, arrive, let's say, well, first of all, do you have a check-in or check-out time with your transient?
I don't think we do. I think it's basically, the harbor master's out there, and if the guy says, oh, yeah, I'll be in around noontime, he meets them out there, basically.
Okay, so if that's the case, you just leave the check-in time and check-out time blank.
Okay.
If there were a specific time, let's say you wanted people to switch over at noon every day, then you would enter in those times. And if someone said they wanted to arrive by 1 o'clock, then we'd actually be looking to see is the berth available after noon. All right, and then some towns have restrictions as to when people can reserve. Maybe you say, well, you can't reserve more than a day in advance or more than a week in advance. Or you might say, well, you have to reserve at least 1 day in advance or at least a week in advance or whatever the case may be. And then you might have some limits. If you make a reservation, you can't make a reservation for a minute. You're going to make a reservation for at least 1 day or 1 hour or whatever the case may be. And you might say, you can't reserve for more than 4 days at a time or a week or whatever the case may be. Then you can specify whether there's going to be a wait list for this group. And if there are different options, none means there's no wait list. Automatic means that as soon as someone submits their application, they go onto the wait list without requiring someone to approve it on your end.
Okay.
Manual means that someone on your end needs to approve it before it would go onto the wait list. And offline means that there is a wait list, but it's not managed through online mooring. We just send you an email and you have some other way of managing the wait list.
Okay.
All right, and then we have limits. Maybe you want to limit how many people can be on the wait list for a particular date, so that you may want to charge people for $1 for being on the wait list, something, whatever.
Okay.
So there's a formula here for calculating what fees will be charged, and then also we can configure rules for how the rentals work. When someone's off the wait list, or when someone submits an application to get transient mooring, do we want to automatically approve them, require you to approve it in online mooring or through that email link, or is it something that's just going to be approved offline and not recorded in online mooring in any way?
Okay.
You can put in a formula for calculating fees, and then you can also configure when you want people to pay. As soon as they apply, only after you've approved, or not electronically. So lots of options there. And then you can configure which of your moorings or berths belong to this group. You select all the ones that apply. So lots of options there, but you can hopefully visualize how that all works.
I think so.
And you can go from there. So I think that's it. So on the chart, now you can actually view a couple things. So your transient moorings, are they also permitted? Or are they completely separate? Okay.
Yeah, they're separate. There are ones that we had and people had left and given them up, and then we just didn't turn them over for renewal. We held on. I think we have 5 of them that we held on for transient status.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So in your case, then you'd see some things that you'd be interested in the rental status if you wanted to see what was available on any given time. So you click on the rental status, you pick what date you're interested in getting the status for, and when you update the chart, it'll show you the moorings for that, color-coded based on the status for that time.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay.
And then also on that calendar page, you can also click to show not only what the permit history for the birth, but also the rental history. So if you pick the option to show the rental history, then it'll show everyone that is scheduled to be at that birth during a given month.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you think that's something you'd like to do through this, by all means, contact me afterwards, and we'll be glad to set it up for you.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably touch base with the harbor master and see what he would, because he probably would be the one that would be involved as far as giving about, because he would know. So I'll have to check with him and see if he wants to do that, or if he just wants to keep doing it the way he's doing it.
Okay, great.
So I'll definitely check with him and then let you know.
Yeah, it's certainly an option, not required, but it does sort of bring things together and give better record keeping of what's going on.
Okay.
And also gives the boaters an opportunity to say, hey, yeah, I do have a confirmation here. Yeah, and this handles the confirmation back to the boaters saying, yep, you've been assigned to this birth at this time, and if they go onto the website, they can see the status of where they stand and where they're supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
And see the chart of where that is. So it provides them all the tools that they need to manage that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay,
and,
thank you.
I'm glad that at least someone stayed to the bitter end.
Hey, I'm on overtime now, so.
Oh, even better. All right. Well, good talking to you, and take care. Have a good evening.
Okay, see you later, Brad.